everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to make the ladder stitch base for our very popular Razzle Dazzle bracelet class. So this is our Razzle Dazzle bracelet. We take a base of seed beads. These are size 6 seed beads, and we embellish it with Swarovskis or gemstones, more seed beads. You have a lot of options for what the top of this can look like, but it's a little bit of a long class, so we like it when you can come to class with this ladder stitch already finished. So I'm going to show you how to do that today, and then also on Tuesday we're going to have a workshop, so if you stop in the store anytime that day, we'll be able to show you how to do the ladder stitch. You'll be able to sit in our classroom and make the whole base just in time for our Razzle Dazzle bracelet class on Wednesday. So we need a couple things. I laid out some of our new seed bead colors here. We just added maybe 20 different colors in size 6 and size 8. We have a big range of these Picasso finish beads that are really popular, some new purples, some new matte colors. So come in and check that out if nothing else. I'm going to start with a pretty long piece of Nymo here. I just don't like to add on new thread when I'm working, so I tend to cut myself a very long piece. This one is probably 4 to 5 feet long, and I'm going to wax it with my beeswax. So I'll hold my thread between my thumb and the beeswax, and I will just pull it all the way through till I get to the end of my thread. And then for some extra slippery goodness, I'm going to use some Thread Heaven and do exactly the same thing. Hold my thumb on top of the string, on top of the Thread Heaven, and just pull my Nymo all the way through. Get it coated so that it will slide really nicely through my beads. Nice. So once you've coated your thread, it's pretty simple. We'll thread our needle on here. I like to bury my thread in my fingers to thread it, so I don't use a threader. I just pinch my fingers closed with the thread inside so I can just barely see where it's peeking out. You don't want it to be sticking out at all. Peeking, I mean it's not sticking out, but you can see the top of it. And then I just push my needle on top of it, don't miss. Sometimes it takes a couple tries, but voila. So I can now thread a needle with that technique with my eyes closed. So if you have trouble threading needles, if you don't really like seed beading because it's just a whole thing to get a needle onto your Nymo, you should try the thread burying technique. And then watch out for your thread trying to knot itself on you. That's what's happening to me right here. Beautiful. So now I'm ready to start. Now 2 of our classes actually use this ladder stitch. The Woven Elegance necklace uses a 2-unit size 8 bead ladder stitch row, whereas the Razzle Dazzle bracelet, we're using a size 6 bead, and we're going to do 3 on top of each other. So the first thing you do is you just pick up 6 beads. We're not going to put anything on the end here because we're going to hold on to these guys and tie them into place. So I'll get my 6 beads on, and I'm going to hold on to them while I pull most of my thread through. Obviously not all of it because I don't want to just undo the work I've done. So now I have about a 5-inch tail, and I'm going to take my needle and just go right through those beads again, the same direction I went the first time. I'm going to be going in from the side that the tail of the thread is sticking out onto. If you go this way, you'll just take your thread out. So we'll pull this slowly. The key with Nymo and seed bead stitching in general is just, it never hurts to go slow. I know that sometimes it can be a painstaking process, but it's as soon as you start to really think, yes, I can go super fast with this, that's when you start getting knots in your Nymo. And it's important to go slow enough that you can keep an eye on all of your thread and make sure that it's not just scrunching itself up through the beads and getting tied into knots. So now I have my beads like this. I'm going to hold on to them while I pull both ends of my thread. So now they're stacked in 2 columns of 3, and I'm going to take my tail of thread, I'm just shortening it a little bit, and I'm going to tie a knot right here. Nothing complicated, just a simple square knot. This is just to tie our beads into place. We'll do more knots and tuck these threads in at the end. Awesome. So now I have my base started, and I'm just gonna bring my needle up one side here so that it's coming out of my second column of beads, and then I'm going to start my actual stitch. So we pick up 3 beads here, and then we put our needle through the bottom of the seed bead column we're working on, the opposite end from where your thread is coming out right now. Just pull our thread slowly through, keep an eye out for knots, and it should just line itself up right there. And it's going to be a little off kilter, you know, you'll work on tension as you're getting more into seed beading, but we're going to be stitching into the base, so you won't see the base that much. Okay, so if you didn't quite catch that, we're going to do another row here. So I'm going to pick up 3 of my seed beads on my needle, and I'm going to bring my needle the opposite direction from where it's coming out at the moment. Pull my thread all the way through, and my 3 will again stack right next to that. But you always need your thread to be coming out the furthest line of beads here. You know, you don't want to have your thread wrapping around rows of beads to add the next one. So we have to very carefully go up this row next to us. I like to put my finger on the beads like that. It'll keep them in place while your thread gets pulled through. And now my thread is coming out in the right spot for me to add another row. So here I'll show you the stitch one more time. We're going to pick up 3 beads, go the opposite direction through our beads. So we're basically going towards where our string is coming out of. Pull that all the way tight, and then pass through the beads you just added. And now the last thing that you're going to do is, once you have stitched the length for your bracelet, you're going to go a little bit shorter than what the bracelet is actually going to be, because we're going to add leashes, as I like to call them, for the clasp. So we'll add some extra length, plus the clasp always adds some length as well. But once you have gotten the length you like, we're just going to reinforce the whole thing by stitching back through it. So I'm just following my beads. I'm never going to skip beads or cross over because I don't want my thread to be showing. So now I'm coming out of this row, I'll go up this row. Coming out of this row, I'll go down through here, back up through here. And this just gives us a nice strong base. We use really big beads for this, partially because it's easier to see them, but also because they have a nice big hole that lets us stitch into this base over and over and over. Because we're already going through multiple times just making it and then reinforcing it. And then when we are doing our razzle dazzle on top and making our little loops of beads and embellishments, we're going to be going through each bead at least one more time, if not multiple times after that. So it's good to have something with a nice chunky hole. Don't worry about getting it tight, 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 because if it is tight, 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 it's going to be a lot harder for you to stitch back into, especially this middle row of beads here. It'll be hard to get in between to get your needle just into that one. So now I am almost done back through, and this is all you would have to do before you come to our Razzle Dazzle class, is this little stretch. If you stop in and see us on Tuesday, chances are you can finish this while you're here in store. You wouldn't even have to worry about doing it at home. We would be here to help you the whole time. It's a really great way to learn. You know, you can always come into our store and just hang out in the classroom, make something, experiment, ask us for help with a project that you're working on that we can see, that you can see. Makes it a lot easier to help than when it's all hypothetical air jewelry, as I like to call it. That's it for today. Stay tuned later this week for more videos. There's always more things to learn. You never know what we're going to work on next.